Good morning, everyone. Today is March 17th, 2026. We have another live trading session. Let's look at the sentiment for today, or actually, let's look at news for today. We currently don't have anything on our agenda other than pending home sales, which is an orange folder event at 9 o'clock. And then if we look at our sentiment for today, we know that the Dow sentiment came out as bullish. We know that our NASDAQ sentiment came out as bullish as well. And then we know that our gold sentiment has also come out as bullish. So if we go back to our charts, we can start off with NQ. Probably end up leaving NASDAQ alone today. We know that we have this previous high of the week that we are currently trying to attack on NASDAQ. And again, just from today's premise, we've already opened and expanded to the upside. We created a low of the day here in London, and then we're currently at high of the day with this 830 candle already. And so, again, with this pricing, I'll probably end up leaving this alone for the day since there is no identifiable objective being the current high of the day to attack. And then the fact that, again, I don't think that it's going to come down to this low of the day. And then we have US 30. US 30 is basically mirroring NAS today. So again, from a higher time frame perspective, we know we have this previous high of the week objective that we're basically targeting right now. But from the current daily perspective, we know we have a low of the day that was formed at 1 a.m. And then once again, 8:30 is already making this high of the day for today. And so we've already expanded to the upside, and I don't expect this thing to revert back to low of the day. So I'll probably end up leaving this alone as well for today. And then lastly, we have gold, which gold is really the only thing that we can look at for potentials today. Looking at gold from a higher time frame perspective, being the hour and the 4 hour, we're very, very choppy right now. We're kind of just ranging, and there is no clear indication of us going into any direction. If we look at what we have from the previous week, which was Friday's price action, we do have a 1 hour fair value gap here. That's, again, up here in the market for us to potentially be pulling back to, especially since we had previous low of the week, and then we have yesterday's low that was presented in the market, and then again today's low, which is just creating a higher high from yesterday's low. But like I said, from this 1 hour down to the 15, down to the 5, we really don't have any clear indication that we're going anywhere right now. So we'll wait to see what this does for today. But like I said, gold will probably be the main thing that we're looking at and trying to align with, since it's the only thing that has a clear objective that's defined in the market, being its current high of the day and then its current low of the day. So if I have any updates, I'll let you guys know. Okay, so I kind of just wanted to explain what is going on right now. So currently, on a lower time frame, we do have a 5-minute fair value gap that was created here with 8:30's price opening, but I'm not going to take this. I was looking at taking buys off of this. However, if we look at a higher time frame, once again, being the 15-minute and being the hour, we know that this hourly candle has now just pulled back into liquidity. So this hourly candle pulled back into liquidity and has now pulled back into this range, as I was talking about at the beginning of the session. As well as if we go on a 15-minute time frame, again, I wanted this 8:30 candle to create some form of 15-minute liquidity in order to stack itself if our objective was going to actually be this high of the day. But since now that 15-minute is now currently breaking itself, and it has now come back and broken this wick here. Let me clean this up for you guys a little bit. So now that it's came back and broken this wick here, I'm no longer interested in taking buys. And look, exactly as I was talking about, we were no longer interested in taking these buys because we knew that on a 15-minute time frame, this is now broken and we don't have any form of liquidity that is actually holding itself to go to buy side. So that's basically all that we are looking at right now. And that's why I didn't take this 5-minute fair value gap that is currently marked in price. We're going to continue to sit on our hands, and we're going to continue to see now. Again, we still have a bullish sentiment that has come out for today, but we will see if this wants to break and hold, and then if we want to create 5-minute fair value gaps to try and target this low of the day. However, once again, we are respecting our higher time frame order flow, so we're not going to do anything until the higher time frame actually does present some form of setup that gives us confirmation to take something on a lower time frame. Okay, so it's currently 9:03, so I just wanted to drop in to give a little 9 o'clock update. So now we've already had the news event, the Orange Folder news event drop for today. We know that our pending home sales for the U.S. came out at 1.8% compared to the forecasted negative 0.6%. This means that this is positive for the dollar. So if we go back to our charts, we know that, again, NASDAQ, like I talked about from the beginning of the session, I wasn't too interested in because of the rally that we made overnight and us already being at the current high of the day. So we were leaving this alone. And then US 30, same exact premise, huge rally overnight. Therefore, this 830 fair value gap doesn't really mean anything to me because we know since it's already ran so far and price is most likely exhausted, there's going to be some form of pullback that needs to happen. And then lastly, we have gold, which gold from a sentiment perspective is still bullish. However, since we did just get positive news on the dollar, with the dollar potentially going higher, we know that gold is counterintuitive to what the dollar does. So usually, again, if the dollar is trying to run higher, we know that gold is most likely going to be trying to run lower. And so we could potentially see this being the flip, especially since if we go on our hourly time frame, although the hourly is super, super choppy right now, we know that if we take this price action off at 12 o'clock, again, at 12 o'clock today, we had this hourly candle that was formed in the market that created this fair value gap here. And so if I put our drawings back on the chart, that's what this gray box here is denoting. And we can actually just change this to an open box, which is denoting the fair value gap at 12 o'clock. And then if we drop down on a lower time frame, we know that, once again, we've been stabbing into this area here, but we've never closed above this area. So we've stabbed into this area, and actually let's just show this from the hour to keep it as clean as possible. But like we've looked at, we've stabbed into this area at 3 a.m. candle, at 4 a.m. candle, and then have now stabbed into this candle with the 8 a.m. candle. And we've seen all of these candles, although they stabbed into that fair value gap, none of them have closed above it. So we could be still holding this bearish price action and trying to actually reach for this low of the day. That's the only potential that we would really have for right now. But like I said, I would need further confirmation of that. So even with this pullback candle at 9 o'clock coming and tapping into this bearish fair value gap, given that our sentiment is once again still bullish, I'm going to wait for further confirmation to the downside to try and align with this if we're going to go short. But currently, we're just sitting on our hands and waiting to see, once again, if the market presents anything else. So it's 9:19 now. Here is where I'll drop in for another little update. As you guys can see, I'm trying to show you guys how to basically just sit on your hands. I know that this month has been quite slow, or I mean, in terms of what you guys are used to seeing, it's probably quite slow because, as the name suggests, day trader, you want to try and get a trade every single day. But as we know, that's not plausible to happen, and that's not feasible when it comes to markets and the conditions of markets and things of that nature. So currently, I'm just showing you guys, again, if the market is not presenting you anything that's clean or anything that is very much subjective and checking off every box on your trading plan, you should not be trading it. And so, once again, just looking from a top-down analysis perspective, we know that we have this hourly fair value gap and we have low of the week that is currently in the market. That is basically the range that we're playing in right now. And then again, every other time frame from there going down is showing you we're just in consolidation profile. We are not showing any indication of trying to go either to this buy side or to this sell side. We're currently, like we said, stuck inside of this range. And so we're just sitting on our hands. In order for us to get any form of buy side liquidity, we know that we would want to break these highs. And if we were able to break these highs, we would be able to see if we can align with something that goes up to this high of the day. And then same thing vice versa for seller's premise. We know that, again, this candle here being that 850 candle technically stabbed into this bullish fair value gap here that was created with the 705 candle. So since it's already technically stabbed into that, we know, again, since being inside of a range, we are going to wait until at least this low is broken before trying to align with shorts if we're going to try and target this low of the day objective. And that's basically just how we save ourselves on a day-to-day basis, especially with being inside of things like this, because again, most people are going to look for buys off of this, like we talked about at session open. Since the sentiment came out as bullish, they're going to be buying this here and then having their stop loss in the normal place, which is below the candle. They're going to get stopped out here. They're going to wonder why they're getting stopped out here. Then they're going to wait. They're going to see that this is a shortest premise. They're going to be trying to short off of this, and then that's how you get into kind of a ping pong notion, and you kind of just end up ultimately losing yourself in price. But again, we have these rules set in place. We have our trading plans set in place because we want to have that checklist actually checked off before we get into a trade. And as we have seen today, it is currently not doing that. It's currently not going in any momentum to any direction. Therefore, we sit on our hands and we wait. Okay, so we have now started to show momentum to the downside. Now that we have broken out of, once again, the range that was created inside of this 830 price leg. Personally, I'm not going to take anything today. The 15 just doesn't align with anything. We have nothing to take on it, as well as the fact that, once again, you could have tried to take this, but realistic targets would have been low of the day. And volume, in my opinion, is way too low for us to be able to have gotten here to low of the day, especially by 10 o'clock's price. By 10 o'clock's price range. And as we can see with this 5-minute candle, it's 2 minutes and 30 seconds, and we'll see where it ends up closing, but it looks to be trying to pull back right inside of this range that was currently set in the market. And then aside from that, we have NASDAQ, which is just consolidating. As talked about, it's consolidating because, again, we had this huge rally from overnight, and so all of this is price exhaustion. We know that New York session is probably going to either be consolidation or some form of pullback in order to rebalance this price that was ran in London. And then, again, US 30 is doing exactly what you would presume that NASDAQ is going to do, or is doing exactly what you would presume NASDAQ would do if it wasn't consolidating, which, once again, we had this huge price leg up through London. We know that this is price exhaustion. We know that on a higher time frame, on things of that nature, it needs some form of pullback. And so therefore, that's exactly what we're getting, is that pullback into liquidity, and then potentially setting up another rally in order to take us to the previous high of the week, which would technically be our ultimate objective for the week. That is basically what we're looking at right now. For me, the session's basically over. Like I said, I'm not going to take anything today, especially with how pricing is currently, especially with what price is currently showing. And so I will let this play out for the rest of the session, but I know that this is most likely going to just be a dead day. And in all honesty, I'm actually just going to give it 10 more minutes. I'll give this until 10:45, just so that we can see where this 15-minute candle closes, and then we'll call it a session from there. Okay, it's 9:45. We're calling it a day here. As we talked about, no trading day. We will be back on Thursday to see if we have any opportunities then. But let me know if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments. I'm out of here.